Introducing our featured speaker tonight from the Rotary Club of Atlanta, Bob Hope.
We as Rotarians hear many speakers, and one of the things that occurred to me is over my lifetime, for the hundreds of speeches I've heard, there are probably only 3 or 4 that truly stand out that I'll always remember and I'll never forget. I'm going to suggest right now that you pay attention, because what you're about to hear is far better than any luncheon speak or dinner speech you'll hear in your lifetime. It's something you'll absolutely never forget. One of the remarkable and sad things, I guess, and by the way, what I'm about to say is not a political statement, it's not Democratic, it's not Republican, but a very sad state of moral affairs sometimes is when you have young people who volunteer to be in the military and go overseas and fight wars and die. And the rest of us sometimes are at places like Sandestin, and we're having a good time. And somehow we can't quite relate to exactly what they're going through. And then when they come back home, we're very proud of them while they're doing it. When they come back home, maybe they aren't treated quite the way they should be. Maybe it's tough getting a job. Maybe the family trauma while they're gone is much greater than any of us might know. My privilege tonight is to introduce you to Senior Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, Ward Taft, and his wife, Amy. Ward served 5 tours of duty, 4 in Afghanistan and 1 in Iraq. During that time, he had multiple brain injuries. He's still in the service. One of the issues that he's had to deal with, and hundreds of other soldiers, thousands of others are dealing with, is that brain injuries really don't fall in the category of what we treat when they come back home. The military doesn't really have a mechanism to address brain injuries. And luckily, as Rotarians, some of us have found an answer. And what I'd like to do, and you'll hear about Ward talk about the SHARE initiative at Shepherd Center. Shepherd Center is the #1 brain trauma center in the world. It's in fact twice as large as #2. And it happens to be here in Georgia. We should be very proud of it. Ty Tippett, our parliamentarian, works at Shepherd Center. Well, let's give Ty a hand. The SHARE initiative at Shepherd Center treats brain trauma of returning soldiers, the warriors who've come back home with a need. It's not funded by, in best case, it's funded 37 cents to the dollar by insurance. And so the funds have to come from someplace else. And people like Ty have to go out and they have to raise over $100,000 a month just to operate the SHARE initiative at Shepherd Center. Luckily, Rotarians step up. And what I'm going to do, I started to just introduce this group as a group, but I'm going to call out some names because this is remarkable. There are 34,000 Rotary clubs in the world. Of those 34,000 clubs, every one of them can do something very special. In this case, I'm going to talk about a club that has 32 members, the Brookhaven Rotary Club. I'm going to ask these people to stand up as I call their name. They're here tonight. Josh Moreland, the president. Past presidents Bob Cunningham, Stan Kaminsky, Terry McQuaid, President-elect Tom Hughes, past district governors Tom Kent, past assistant governor Bill Smith. The 32 members of that club started a golf tournament last year to raise money for the SHARE initiative. They raised $85,000. This year's golf tournament is coming up on May the 14th, and they've already surpassed that. They've already raised over $100,000. That shows what Rotary can do. I mean, it's an amazing story. Right now, Ward and Amy Taft are going to come out here. They'll tell their story. Before we get started, there's a little video here we'll show that will give you a sense of what Ward has had to deal with, and Amy.
In this awful moment, James Sperry's life changed. In Fallujah, Iraq, grenade shrapnel tore into his head and chest. The then 20-year-old Marine nearly died. 7 years later, Sperry is still fighting, this time constant migraines and dizzy spells. He has the Iraq War's signature wound, traumatic brain injury.
I lose vision about that. And my dizziness going on right now. You can see my eyes, they do this, and they shake outside.
Sunglasses ease his light sensitivity, but not his chronic pain. He has trouble thinking, talking, remembering.
I go to bed, I wake up the next day, and I would remember the day before.
So you tried to get help?
I went to the doctor, and after I spent 30 days in the mental hospital because I just didn't take a break now.
But no one answered his pleas for cognitive brain rehabilitation, therapy to help injured brains function.
My role as the Chief Medical Officer is to make sure that our service members are getting the best care that they can get.
Warren Lockett's in charge of TRICARE, the military's health insurance. TRICARE does not cover most cognitive care, calling it not supported by reliable scientific evidence.
There are pockets of techniques that have been demonstrated to be effective, but we really can't say cognitive rehabilitation therapy is effective when it stands alone.
But advocates say that policy, along with poor screening procedures, leaves nearly 400,000 vets with limited options.
The vast majority of them get no meaningful treatment. It's specialized care that's hard to find, harder to fund. But here at Atlanta's Shepherd Center, a few vets do get the help they need. A very lucky few.
Everything through here is better. Tons better than when they show up.
It's called the SHARE Initiative, a 4-month regimen of physical and mental services, weekly recreational therapy like horse riding, designed to relax the brain and ease anxiety. So far, Shepherd's treated more than 200 soldiers. Dr. Darrell Kaling runs the program.
Any doubt in your mind that places like this, it works. It absolutely works.
This report by a panel of 50 brain experts convened by the Pentagon agrees and recommends TRICARE fully cover cognitive treatment. Still, Kaling says the military is unconvinced.
They don't yet believe that treating somebody with thinking difficulty can make them better. And in fact, we know that it can.
The real issue, money. Shepherd's program costs about $50,000 per soldier. Without donations, this program would not exist.
These kids get screwed royally.
Billionaire Bernie Marcus co-founded Home Depot. He got so angry by the lack of treatment, he donated nearly $2 million to fund the Shepherd's efforts.
You read about the bridge to nowhere, my God, and we throw money away. Why not for these kids?
What sort of difference do you see in yourself?
This first time in 5 years, I've actually had hope for the future.
It's hope vets like Sperry deserve, but thousands of them live with their private torment and a future as clouded as ever. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Atlanta.
Thank you. You know this must be a good cause because I absolutely hate speaking in public. I've spent most of my career working in the dark, and now I'm in the light. And, point being, I have the shades. They talked about some light sensitivity, so I'm sorry I'm wearing sunglasses up here. Please forgive me. As you'll find also, I might stutter a little bit. My cognitive function speed is a little low, so please bear with me. A little bit about my background. United States Navy. I entered service in late '92 and currently have 19 years of service. I have 1 year left until my retirement. I've had the fortunate time to have the Navy send me all over the world. I've gotten the chance to visit all those wonderful resort areas. Yeah, some of you may have heard them. Croatia, Bosnia, Yugoslavia in the 90s, Sierra Leone, Congo, Somalia, all the places you want to take your family during summer vacation. Now, I brought my brain with me. Bonnie, I know you're out there somewhere. She was actually one of my, there she is, she's hiding. Hi, Bonnie. I'm sure she'll be happy to see I brought my brain with me. She's one of the therapists at the Shepherd Center, and I was able to get, the government gave me this wonderful program called the CAP program, and they gave me an iPad. But what they don't do is teach you how to use it. That's great for someone with a TBI. So let's talk a little bit about my experience. Everyone's experience with the TBI is a little bit different. Mine started 2 years ago. I came home from my 5th deployment, my 4th from Afghanistan, and they told me I was going to get a break. I had been home 13 days out of 3 years, and they told me I had the break. So they set me up to have a break, and then, as usual in the military life, that changed. They decided that my entire battalion that I was assigned to needed to deploy. So we went through an 8-month workup, and I was 1 month away from another year-long deployment when I started having serious issues. My friends and family were all telling me that there was something wrong, but as many service members, they just suck it up and drive on. Especially young, physically fit, they don't want to admit their weakness, or they don't want to affect their careers, especially mine, being that I was around 17 years at that time. So from there, I was required to do a physical before my deployment. And basically what happened was they asked me, I had to do a neurological test. They asked me to close my eyes and I'd fall on the floor. Doctor said, that's not right. Well, I'm glad he went to medical school to figure that out. So from there, I went through a 6-month, I went through testing, and they determined that I had a TBI due to exposure to multiple blast injuries. It's a signature wound from the current conflicts that we've been dealing with, but it is very underrated. Most people look at me right now and they say, well, you're functioning really well. Well, it's been a long road to get here. Thank you, Bonnie. And the Shepherd Center, and everyone else who's helped me along the way, my wife. But, oh, lost my spot. TBI, I can blame it on it. So, the military put me through about a 12-week regiment. And through it, it was disjointed therapy. I had an occupational therapy here. I had a speech therapist here. I had motor physical vestibular therapist here. But no one was talking to each other. And I'm sure many of you out there can understand that feeling, that you have no continuity to care, and that's the big term that the civilian healthcare system looks at. And it was still relatively new in the treatment as far as the military is concerned. So with all this disjointed treatment, after 6 months of being treated, as many of you know, being business owners, you can't continue to pay someone who works for you who can't function. There has to be a line drawn. And the military is no different, unfortunately. So after 6 months, they looked at me and said, well, you're as good as you're going to get. There's nothing more we can do for you. I'm lucky enough to be senior in rank. and work in the medical community. So I didn't accept that answer. My wife wouldn't accept that answer. My family wouldn't accept that answer. So we started doing some research. I happened to go to a traumatic brain injury conference for the state of North Carolina, and I ran into the representatives from the Shepherd Center who were there, and they handed me their card. I went back to my doctor on Monday, handed him the card, and said, I'm going to the Shepherd Center, and I want to be part of the SHARE initiative. My wife and I did the legwork. We made the phone calls. And the SHARE initiative was more than willing to help us. We submitted the paperwork through TRICARE, which is the military insurance system, and they denied me. There were so many of the medical modalities that you heard that are non-standard, as TRICARE calls it. There's no physical proof that it's going to help you cognitively. So TRICARE denied me access. Neither my wife or I would continue to accept that answer, and neither did the Shepherd Center, and especially the SHARE initiative people. They said, don't worry about it. We'll deal with TRICARE. We'll set you up with an appointment, and we'll take care of you. That alone is a huge, huge weight off my family's mind, because I wasn't right. I came home, and I was mad. I was upset. Couldn't tell you why. Didn't know why. I was mad. I would have mood swings for no reason. Thank God I didn't take it out on my family at all. I'd go out in the garage and punch cardboard boxes, kick them around. But the point was I didn't know why I was upset. I would cry for no reason. And my daughter, the worst part was it took it out on my kids. They didn't understand why Dad wasn't happy to be home. They would bend over backwards to do everything that Dad needed to be safe and comfortable and happy at home, but I wasn't. So it affected them. And a lot of people forget the unsung heroes, which is our families. They talk about the service member, but we don't talk about the families and their needs and how it affects the children. So the Shepherd Center worked everything out for us. We got it approved, and I got to go down. I went down for my 2-week evaluation, and that's where they put me through testing. And I had debilitating migraines every day. And for those of you who have migraines, you know how difficult it is to function. Well, add a brain injury on top of that. They did my testing and realized that my cognitive function speed, my brain's ability to function, was less than 1% of the average person. To give you an example, what that means is I'm in a car driving. You see a red light. Most people go, oh, it's a red light. I'm going to stop. I look at a red light and go, pretty color. I know I'm supposed to do something, not quite sure what. And usually about the time you hit the white line on the road and you hear all the squealing tires, you go, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to stop. Too bad my driving teacher couldn't be here today. Let's just say it was an interesting time driving around Atlanta. Yeah. And you're on the road with me, too. Crickets, crickets. The big thing with the SHARE, they did a procedure called, and here's some big medical words, sphenopalatine ganglion block. And it's been around for a very long time. But the Shepherd Center, a doctor over there that's been working with the SHARE initiative, came up with a procedure that was very less invasive. And basically, to tell you what it is in a nutshell, when you drink a Slurpee real fast and you get that brain freeze, that's the nerve plexi that you're irritating. Well, it also helps with controlling migraines. And it used to be really painful, an inpatient procedure and a lot of injections. Now they do it with some Q-tips. I won't go into details. But they use some Q-tips, and it's it takes 20 minutes. You're in and out. But we found that it would control my migraines so that instead of having, getting sick, couldn't be out in the light, that I could control my headaches, and I could control it just by taking Tylenol after I got those blocks. And what that tells you is that many service members who have migraine headaches, how do doctors treat it? They throw narcotics at it. What do narcotics do? They just cover up the problem. When the narcotics wear off, what happens? The headache comes back. So they take more narcotics. So now they have a TBI problem, they have a migraine issue, and now they're addicted to drugs. And then the military looks at them and says, well, you're addicted. We're going to put you through a treatment program, and you're going to be separated from the military because you have a drug issue. And that made a huge difference to me, and that was just in the first 2 weeks of being there, in my evaluation period. That alone was worth my trip down there, and the effort and the fighting and everything else, because that allowed me to at least be pain-free for the most part on a daily basis. I went back, had a week break, and then I went back. And it started out it was supposed to be a 10-week trip, stay down there. And what the Shepherd Center does is they truly do a holistic view. They look at the whole body and the whole person. And the difference between that and what the military does, and you being business, you understand that, like I said earlier, you can't keep them forever. The military their programs look at, can we return him to full duty so that he can do his job? If he can't, he's getting medically separated from the military. That's what their programs look at. The SHARE initiative doesn't. They look at the person, how he functions, how he can function in the world, how he can become a productive person in society. How can we teach him to the best of his ability with the impairment he has to be able to go out in public, not to be ashamed of his injuries, not to worry about how to get around in a car, where he sits in a restaurant, his mental or physical outbursts that he may have. They teach you how to control all that. And then they also get you in touch with other people with the same injuries. And this isn't just a 6, 10, or 12-week program. They stay with you. It's been a year since I left the program, and they have representatives who contact me and actually come to my house and see me at least about once a month, once every other month. They come to the house, they talk to my family. How's he doing? Because I may not be doing well, and I don't realize it. So they talk to the family, which is an important part of this. And the different modalities that they cover, they do acupuncture, they do massage therapy, they do recreational therapy with the horse riding, and art therapy, and just work on, some people haven't left, some of these guys I've met haven't left their house in 2 years. 2 years because they're afraid to go out in public. Whether it's because they lose their balance or whether it's because they're embarrassed of what they might inadvertently say. When you talk about a frontal lobe injury, it's your filter. So obviously that's my problem, as you can tell, because I have none. If I think it, I say it. Which is like, in the military world, they go, that's great, everyone knows what's on your mind. That's not always a good thing. Just ask my wife. Lost my place again. As I was sitting out here yesterday in the audience where you're at, and you were talking about the GSP and how the Rotary has touched so many lives throughout the world and the impact that you all have, not just locally, but globally. I was looking at your banner, and you talk about service above self. I can tell you today, standing before you, that I am a recipient of your service above self. Because of the hard work and effort of people here in your District 6900 who work with the Shepherd Center, at the Share Initiative, and the fundraising that they did through the golf tournament to help keep that program going. I'm a direct recipient of that money and the benefits of what came from it. I would not be standing here today in front of you being able to talk, walk, and do these things. You can ask Bonnie anytime you want. Oh, sorry, Bonnie. I left you out of my therapy. I got to drop your name. Everyone loves Bonnie at the Shepherd Center. Bonnie does our speech therapy, if you will. But she does a whole lot more than that. She's like the mom you never wanted. She loves me. She knows I'm joking. But really, I mean, you get that mom that's always on your case, pick up your room, clean your room, where's your homework, do your homework, brush your teeth. That's Bonnie. She's the reason why I can work my iPad. She's the reason why I have my iPad. My iPad is my brain. It goes everywhere with me. As a matter of fact, it was on the beach this morning with me. As I was trying to make notes, didn't work out very well. Got a lot of sand on it. But the military system gives you a lot of tools, but they don't teach you how to use it. The Shepherd Center really brings that together. And my wife's giving me signals to wrap this up, so. With the closing, I just want to, Bob took some of my thunder. I was going to talk about the golf tournament. But the upcoming golf tournament here on May 14th, I really want to thank you for your effort and your hard work. $100,000 is just amazing. I wish you all to continue the best of luck, and I challenge you all to come on out to the golf tournament. I'm going to check my schedule and see if I can get down there for it. And I just ask you to go out there and really push to your friends. Even if you can't play golf, I can't, but I pretend to. I usually go on the golf course with about 12 balls and come back with 1, and it's probably not mine. So, you've heard enough about me, and I would like to just take a minute and turn this over to my wife so that she can speak upon the family aspect real quick. She will bring you to tears. So, with no further ado, here's my wife, Amy.
Good evening. I just wanted to share with you the family side, because one of the things that's so important about the Share Initiative is they did not just treat my husband as a single unit. They involved our entire family. My husband and I have been married for 16 years. We have been in the Navy that entire time. I was actually with him before, whenever he first enlisted, or pretty shortly afterwards. And I have to tell you, when he came home from that 5th deployment, I felt like a bomb had been dropped off in the middle of our house and exploded. Unfortunately, there was some pretty bad press lately, and somebody described this incident as being people turning into monsters. I feel like monsters are people that do things on purpose. My husband is not a monster. But he didn't know what was going on with him. The bomb exploded, and it was violent. Not physically, but verbally. He would get angry, he would get frustrated, he would get aggravated, and he wouldn't know what to do at that point in time. So the Share Initiative not only treated my husband, but he treated all of us. And I truly can say that he gave us our family back. We've always been a bunch of laughers. We've always been a bunch of jokers. We've always kidded around with each other. But we had gotten to the point where we even tried making a joke. He would erupt in anger and have to leave the house. For a 7 and a 13-year-old girl who's already emotional, that's not a good place for their daddy to be. It was a very trying time. So they treated the family. They brought us all in. They helped us all understand, number one, the disease, the injury. And then they helped us give us tools on how to bring our family back together. I think it was whenever we were riding the horses, and they had the picture of it up earlier, that we actually laughed as a family again for the first time in over a year. And that was over Dad getting on a little bitty horse and the horse hardly moving because they told us it was strong enough to hold him, but we're not real sure it was. But that's the first time we laughed as a family. We got to go to the aquarium and cheer on some of the other guys as they got in the water the first time and come together as a unit again and help the people move forward. And I think one of the most important things that they did was they gave my children a voice. You can imagine being a 7-year-old girl. Her daddy had done 5 tours in 7 years, so she had hardly known this man that we called Daddy. And then whenever Daddy did come home, Daddy would trip over her book bag and yell and scream about why was her book bag in the middle of the floor. She often ran to her room because she didn't know what to do. But the Shepherd Center helped her realize that, number one, we couldn't depend on what we thought Daddy was. We needed to move forward, and that we needed to realize that this is who Daddy is now, and this is what we need to learn to live with. And then they helped her and him communicate on a term that a 7-year-old could understand. And so I just want to read. One of the things that I did with my 7-year-old was we wrote a story together. We've actually written 3 of them about her daddy, the pickle brain, because that's what she calls it. She says that her daddy has a pickle brain and that she has an elephant brain. But nobody can tell you what the Share Center has done for our family as well as she can in her words and her little story. So I'm going to kind of pick up in the middle so you don't have to hear the whole thing. But I think you'll get a clue as to what the Share Center has done for our family. It says, one day when Daddy came home, things were different. This day, Daddy seemed more sad. He sat everyone down and apologized for being so grumpy all of the time. Daddy then told the whole family that he found out that he had received a brain injury while he was away. Clara did not understand everything Daddy said, but she knew that her daddy was sick, and now his brain didn't work right. She liked to call it a pickle brain. Daddy also said that he was going to a hospital several hours away so that they could help him not be so angry and forgetful all of the time. While Clara didn't want her daddy to leave again, she was happy that she might get her old daddy back again. While Daddy was gone, he called every night. Clara also got to do a lot of talking with a talking doctor who helped her understand more about Daddy's pickle brain. She felt better every day, but she was still nervous about Daddy coming back home. June arrived, and Clara helped her mom and sister pack up the car. They were going to the hospital where Daddy was and learn how to be a family again. She was so excited. While they were at the hospital, Miss Sarah helped Clara and her sister come up with activities they could do with Daddy on good days and bad days. Miss Sarah even helped us come up with code words. Good days would be sunny days. Not so good days were cloudy days. And bad days, they were going to be stormy days. Then they generated a list of activities that they could still do as a family, whether the day was sunny or it was stormy. Now Clara's back at home with her family. She understands that her old daddy will never come back and has learned to live with her new daddy in his pickle brain. Clara's daddy has more sunny days now, and today they are even going swimming and having fun just like the good days. This was so important to me because they had lost the relationship that they had. I am very close to my father. He is part of my day weekly. You know, every time something exciting happens in our house, we call, Papa. And Clara and her father were always very close, even though they were never together. And when he came home with his brain injury, they lost the connection almost instantly. The 13-year-old could understand a brain injury, but a 7-year-old could not understand a brain injury. It took the workers at Share to understand and to explain to our 7-year-old exactly what had happened to her daddy and that he was not doing anything on purpose. But not only that, it gave them a connection again. And I'm here to say that still today, every Sunday, we get up because that's our family day, and we have a weather check. And Clara will jump in on the bed and she'll say, "Daddy, what kind of day is it going to be?" And if you're visiting our house and it's raining outside and he said it's going to be a sunny day, it's not because we don't know what the weather's like. It's because that way she can go to her list and she can figure out what activities we're going to do that day. And to me, that's one of the most important things that the SHARE Initiative did, is they gave us our family back. They gave us, as you all were talking earlier, a peace and a comfort, and knowing that somebody was behind us. And we also still continue to have that peace because we know that if anything goes wrong, the SHARE Initiative is still there to support us. All we have to do is pick up the phone, and they are still right there to support us. And that gives us more peace than we could ever ask for, and I want to thank you all for that.